So I want to talk about an underpinning mechanism that we have used for the last 10 years to help individuals to be more successful at managing change and putting in personal behaviors that actually they can adopt and become automatic over time. So it starts with this field of psychology called automaticity. You ever heard of that? So automaticity, basically what it looks at is the degree to which you decide versus you react. How much of what you do is either on rails, automatic, subconscious, or in reaction to stimulus from the outside world, versus I decide, I'm choosing to do this. What would you say the split is? 50-50? 75-25? 90-10. Closest. It's 95-5. 95% of what we do is governed by automaticity. Okay, so you're driving along, in your car, and you've been on the road for an hour, and all of a sudden, you've been thinking about the meetings, you've been thinking about what you're doing tonight, and all of a sudden you go, how did I get here? You ever had that? So that's one of the most complex things you could possibly do. Navigate at high speed with 1.5 tons of metal around you that you are controlling, and you're doing it almost completely without any conscious awareness. That's automaticity. And there is a part of your brain called the basal ganglia, the little walnut-shaped part of your brain, right at the base of your skull, which is responsible for habit formation. And it does this because if you didn't automate everything you do, the size of your brain would be 8 to 10 times bigger. The neural cortex, if it had to constantly be aware of what's going on. And that wouldn't be good for childbirth. So, as an evolutionary thing, we've adopted this habit formation. So, the first thing to recognize is that we form and build habits. But the thing about it, and that we're very good at doing this, is we can build negative habits and positive habits. And under stress, and you guys are, I guess, under stress quite a lot, aren't you? We tend to build between 20 to 40 bad habits every year. And that's quite a lot of habits. I mean, some of these things can be tiny things. It's like, the habit that we form when we sit down and watch television. What kind of habits do you think we have when we sit down and watch television late at night when we're exhausted and slump? Bad posture? Eating, yeah. So, you're sitting in front of something that's not really engage you, evidenced by the fact you've got your iPad next to you and you're flicking channels every 2 seconds because you're bored. And so what happens is there's a mechanism, and the mechanism is cue, routine, reward. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is you're sitting down and watching television. And because you've been bored in the past, you've made up a routine. And the routine is go to the fridge, get a can of beer or a glass of wine, and maybe something to nibble on. You've already eaten, by the way, so you're not hungry. This is actually filling in for something you're not doing. And the reward, again, is either dopamine or some satisfaction in feeling that your hands are occupied. You're filling the void. And of course, the more you do that, the more you're going to do it, because it becomes automatic. The problem with it is that trying to stop that behavior and face, kind of the absence of it creates craving. So if you take away the reward, and you try to use willpower and discipline to not do it, you face craving, and that drains down your willpower and discipline. So experiments that show how this works. This is something that is regularly done around the world by scientists studying automaticity. So as an example, so you get a group of people like you, and we pay you £100 to come in and do a test, okay? And we say, it might take you between 45 minutes and an hour, but it's a test. So you give you the piece of paper, you sit down, you're surrounded with, like 10 people. I'm in a white, little coat with a clipboard, and you feel kind of obliged because it's money, and you also feel, under some social pressure because you're thinking, well, I'm going to win this test. And you've been paid money. So anyway, you start off. But what you don't know is that the test is a persistence test, and it's designed really to see how long you'll stick at it, because you can't answer any of the questions. They're impossible to answer. Within about 3 or 4 minutes, I bring in a plate of cookies, but these have been genetically engineered to create hot stimulus on their brain. They've got nuggets of chocolate about this big, oozing, because they've just come out of the oven, and they're 95 fat and sugar content, so they're designed to really distract you. So you put them down on the table and you say, don't touch the biscuits, because we're having some children here for a party afterwards. They're for the children, okay, so don't touch the biscuits. Okay. Down the hall, there's a similar test being done, and it's a group of people, same demographic, doing the same test, but within 2 or 3 minutes, they bring in a place radishes, and they say, don't touch the radishes. We're doing some allergy testing. Which group persists longest? The biscuit group. Get us some biscuits quick. The radish group, yeah. Why? Because you're not using any willpower to resist this, are you? If you think about willpower as being this very finite resource, it's your 5%. The minute you have to use that to sustain the behavior, you will fail. This is why diets don't work, that are based on resistance. You resist, you resist, you resist, you splurge. So any behavior, going to the gym, any behavior you can possibly think about that you're trying to initiate that's launched on the basis of I will use willpower, I decide, is flawed, particularly with the fact that we all live such demanding lives, because your willpower and discipline is pretty much utilized the minute you step out the door. So I want to teach you just a very brief idea about how to build positive rituals. And the starting point is it's founded on the notion that the more you have to think about doing something, the less energy you have available to do it. Okay? So the smart approach to building positive rituals is to describe in as much detail as possible what that new behavior looks like. So think of it like almost like a software program. Most people confuse intention, I know what to do, with the means to making it happen. So we get people to write down in lots of detail what building a positive ritual looks like. Everything, all the things they have to do, why they're going to fail, what the steps are they have to prepare for, the people they need to contract with, what it's going to feel like, their motivational state, what it's going to end up looking. And we create this little world, and then they launch it. And when they fail, we go back to the ritual design. So let me give you some of the keys to making a really effective ritual. The first thing is do not try and attempt to do 3 or 4 things at once. Only do one thing at a time. I've got about 45 rituals that I built over the last 10 years, one at a time. Because all you're trying to do is harness your natural ability for automaticity. Your basal ganglia will take care of it, okay? But it won't do if you try and do loads and loads of things at once. The most important point, which I've just kind of raised, is the success rate will be directly proportional to the amount of specificity and precision that you utilize to create your ritual. So my ritual for exercise, for example, part of it is removing all of the inhibitors. So when I get out of bed in the morning, and I never thought I could do this when I started this, I never thought I could exercise in the morning, but the first thing I do is I get out of bed and I'm half asleep and I pull the covers out and there is my gym kit laid out as a little man in front of me. Which means I don't have to think, just kind of like that. And the routine is all fully prepared, and what it does, it's a cue. That little person there is a cue. I don't have to go into the cupboard and do this because that's another reason for not doing it. And you believe me, there are 100 reasons not to. So you just you strip out all the resistance. Incremental success is preferable to ambitious failure. The research and the science around habit formation suggests that the most positive way of building new behaviors that become automatic over time is to start small. You fail, and what you do is you reinforce, if you try to have ambitious targets to start off with, you reinforce the fact that I can't do this. This won't work in my life. This is not possible. So start small and gradually build up. Share your commitments to create accountability. Women tend to be better at this than men, but a really powerful source of gaining positive energy behind putting new behaviors in place is actually to talk to others about it and help get them to help you launch it. And the final thing is around taking a leap of faith. It takes time for a ritual to take hold, and most people give up after about 6 attempts of a new behavior. Think about your own initiatives in the past to do something different. How long did you do it for? Most people give up after 6 attempts. It takes between 12 to 24 repetitions of a new behavior before it sits hold in your body. And some things are harder than others. But if you look at your calendar and think, well, what does 12 times or what does 24 repetitions look like? It might be this might be a 2 or 3 month project. Can you then start to embrace it more realistically? And the answer is yes. So there's some ideas there to help you think about building positive rituals. So I'm going to cover off 2 ideas from our work, and very briefly, because we don't have very much time. The first idea is probably the most counterintuitive for most organizations, which is that we are designed, our most basic physical need in terms of managing energy is to expend and recover energy. To spend and recover energy. And the only way which we can do that is to actually value something that we're currently not valuing, which is renewal. And we describe this as something called the performance pulse. What we noticed in athletes a long time ago was that the way in which they got their competitive advantage was not in the expenditure wave. It was not in their training. It was not in when they were competing. It was actually when they were recovering. That's when they perfected their advantage. So the myth is that, and this is what's changed in the last 15 years, we start to behave like computers, always on, running high speeds continuously. But we're not designed to be like computers. We're designed to oscillate. We're designed to pulse rhythmically between spending and renewing energy. And I kind of summarize it with this idea, and this is the idea on a plant in your mind, is about building waves. Excellence, and you guys are, having to deliver excellence. I mean, that's what you are designed to do, is with your clients create competitive advantage by coming up with breakthrough ideas. Is that true? They don't want an average service from you, do they? They don't want average performance. They want you to perform. They want you to be excellent. They want you to be better than they are. And the trouble is, if you don't value renewal, what we end up doing is, because we never disengage, we never can truly engage. If you want to fully engage in whatever you're doing across your life, you have to value the disengagement wave. Otherwise, you're confusing productivity with endurance. And increasingly, over a life, that's where you kind of net out, You've seen tired people who really can't rise to the occasion, haven't you, in your business? I'm sure you have. That's what's happening. So excellence is found in the margins of endeavor. If you want to push the amplitude of the expenditure wave up, you have to push the wave down. Otherwise, you go from this to this. Right, so let's do something. Actually, I'll do that in a second. I want to talk to you very briefly about something else. So, a lot was discovered in the 50s and 60s about sleep. We understood this thing called the circadian rhythm. You know what that is? 24-hour rest work cycle. It's just designed to get up when it's light, have a little sleep for about 10, 15 minutes at 3 o'clock. That's what we're kind of biologically designed to do, and then go to bed when it's dark. That's what we're designed to do. Okay, now obviously we don't do that very much anymore. And that cycle was pretty much decoded by the 1970s. But then a number of researchers started to see something different, and they called it the ultradian rhythm, which they noticed that during sleep, we kind of go through this oscillation between higher and lower levels of sleep. And we have 4 or 5 of these troughs and peaks during the sleep cycle. Now, what researchers then discovered was something called the sleep gate. And an Israeli team, led by a man called Peretz Levi, discovered that actually if you ask people to go to sleep during the day, there are times during the day when they can almost go to sleep at will, every 90 to 120 minutes. And what really this kind of uncovered was that this sleep cycle is going 24 hours a day. We are moving every 90 minutes from a physiological peak to a physiological trough. Our expenditure wave is 90 to 120 minutes. So what does that mean for you? What's the implication for you? Yeah, you can only be at your best for a period of between 90 and 120 minutes. The minute you carry on trying to push through that part, your concentration, your patience, your focus, your creativity, your productivity goes off a cliff. So, companies like eBay who have been adopting our thinking have started to encourage people to formulate a 45-minute meeting schedule. So otherwise, you end up just doing back-to-back meetings. So that you can fully disengage. They do all sorts of things like walking meetings and clever ideas to help people to build this rhythm during the day. and not go from a meeting and then to the BlackBerry, because that's flatlining. That's continuous. So that's one idea. Now, you fully engage for 90 minutes. You can't get 90 minutes of recovery. So fitness in sports is described as the speed of recovery. It's not the length of recovery, it's the quality and how fast you can do it. So would you like to get a bit of recovery right now? Yeah? Okay, so put all your stuff down on the floor. We're going to just do something really, really quickly. I'm going to teach you how to get recovery, and this again, it's not going to come as a surprise to you, but in a very short period of time. Okay, send that email, quick. All right, so just put your base of your back into the chair, so the lower back is fully supported. Put your feet on the floor flat, don't have them crossed over, and put your hands in your lap, just like that, okay? And close your eyes. And don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to you. Tempting as it is. All right, so just take a deep breath in through your nose. And feel your chest rising up. Try and lose your inhibition, okay? Nobody can see you. Just breathe in deeply. And feel your chest rising up and your diaphragm pushing down. And just breathe out through your mouth. So in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take 3 or 4 really deep breaths. Try and fill your lungs right up. Now I want you to focus your attention on the soles of your feet and feel the floor rising up to meet your feet. And just let any tension in your legs go. And in your hips and your bottom, just let any tension go, and your tummy, and your chest, your shoulders, just let them relax. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just feel any tension in your jaw go, and your face, and your scalp. Now, all I want you to do now is to concentrate 100% of your focus on the breath going in through your nose for the count of 3. So count in your mind, 1, 2, 3, and then out through your mouth for 6. And just feel your chest rising up and your diaphragm pushing down. In for 3, out for 6. Feel your concentration wavering off, you feel thoughts coming to your mind, just try and relocate your attention and put it 100% on the breath going in for 3, out for 6. If you're breathing shallowly, try and breathe deeply again. Okay, and open your eyes. So, did you get a bit of recovery there? So, what you're doing when you do that is very, it's very natural, obviously, but you're getting a number of levels of recovery. At a physical level, what you're doing, if you practice that and get good at doing it so that you're focusing 100% on your breath rather than anything else, you're getting that you're pressing your kind of reset button on the ultradian rhythm, so you can reset that, so you can allow you to fully engage. The second thing is the minute you close your eyes, you are shutting off a vast amount of your neural activity. We're visual creatures. About half of all the stimulus that's coming into our bodies is coming in through our eyes. So if you're under a brain scanner and you just shut your eyes, you'll see a significant portion of the lights going out. So you're getting recovery just like that. You also, within 6 seconds of closing your eyes and deep breathing, you're starting to reduce cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, the stress hormones. And I guess you're suffused with quite a lot of those during the day, aren't you? So that's getting emotional recovery. And then, if you get really good at shutting off your brain, what you're doing is you're building a boundary between one set of thoughts, that meeting I've just been in, and what you need to now engage in to fully focus on this next thing. So it creates mental recovery as well. And Google and eBay, they've really embraced this idea. People have built recovery rooms, so it's culturally acceptable to go in for 5-10 minutes and just close your eyes and disengage so that you can fully engage in what you're going to do next. So it's not about the quantity of recovery. It's about the quality. It's about building a deep wave in a short period of time. And this is a coping strategy that we are creating in companies to face up to the fact that we just do not have enough hours in the day. And if we're going to really be at our best, if we're going to really perform, then we have to find smart ways to adapt to the situation as it stands.